everyone, and welcome to a new segment from 94twenty Crowdfund called Music Tips for Music Artists. I'm Nicole Hoglund, one of the co-founders of 94twenty, and you may recognize my voice and Carl's voice, who is with us, as the co-host of the 94twenty podcast, along with Greg Riggle. So today we're very excited because we are bringing you these music tips to help you progress your career forward. So instead of talking about the music that we love and the industry that we tolerate, today is all about that industry that we tolerate and the things that we know will help you move your career forward. So, hi, Carl. Why don't we start talking today about the discovery process, which is definitely something that is in the forefront of everyone's mind.
Well, I think the problem with discovery today is that no one really knows, what it is. Like in the olden days, it was like more of a organized process where you're like when you're in a new band, you would just play around live. You'd build your following locally or regionally, and then like you'd make some demos and go to a record label and try to get A&R guy to come down and see you. Hopefully, if you were good, you'd showcase for them, get your record deal, and then they would help promote you by putting you on tour. They had tour support back in those days, and nowadays there's none of that. Nowadays it's just like, and because of social media, people think, well, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Because of social media, everyone has access to it.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone can put their stuff out there, but it's so crowded and polluted with music, of all different types, whether it's good or bad, doesn't matter anymore. Back in the old days, the process weeded out the people who weren't that good,
Mm-hmm.
so more of the cream was just out there. Now, because of the way it is, anybody can put anything out. So it's so polluted. How does anyone get found? Right?
I mean, it's not just that everyone's out there, it's that what's the quality that they're putting out to you. When you were talking about what it looked like in the past with you going out performing shows and A&R people kind of coming out and recruiting you back to the label and giving you this tour support, nowadays it's anyone can create anything, regardless of if it's good or bad, and expect something to happen from it. And I think that that's where I think a lot of people think that just because they put it out there, it's going to get found. And that's not the case, especially when it comes to discovery, because gosh, Greg always says there's like 100,000 songs or something like that are uploaded to Spotify each day. And that is something crazy like that. But I think artists need to remember that just because they put it out there and just because it's done doesn't necessarily mean it's good and doesn't mean that it's going to get found. So how do you creatively get the attention of those record labels or those publishing groups that you are vying for in a world where there's so much different types of content now that you can easily get lost in it and actually be one of those cream of the crop that you were talking about?
Well, getting back to what Greg's what he said about everyone 100,000 songs a day. Based on that, calculation, pretty soon everyone in the world will have a Spotify playlist. So everyone's gonna be able to Spotify. I don't know. I think the labels themselves are having a problem. They don't know what to do. That's why they're doing these 360 deals. Because they're taking everyone's merch and because they can't make the money on the records anymore or the songs. And before we were saying about the quality, you had to go into a recording studio, to do it, even a demo. So there was a certain level of quality, to what you were putting out there or what you were trying to, to promote. Now, sure, there's a lot of great quality stuff coming out of people's houses and stuff, but there's also a lot of garbage coming out of people's houses. You could just because you have GarageBand doesn't mean you know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And people put out these really low quality, bad song demos and shoving it up on Spotify, through DistroKid or Zeta Baby or whatever, and flooding the market with all this garbage. So it's hard to wade through anything to see what's good out there. And plus there are no more genre. I think there's a genre blur now too, where there's no more genres. It used to be where there was rock, there was pop, there was, which is, I don't know whether it's good or bad, but now anything is everything.
Mm-hmm. It blends over everything.
Could be you know, bluegrass, can be rock, can be even metal. Or it's like everything. So there's no really. So how do you even find? I think the point of genre is to find your audience. You know, like
Mhm.
I was always told back in when I was doing it, when you first start out, kind of keep it cohesive and consistent. Like be define what you are. Even the Beatles, the ultimate example, when they first started, they were this twangy pop band. That's what they did. And they got their audience. And for the first few years, their songs were very the same. It was all once they got their audience, then they branched off and were doing all different kind of weird stuff, orchestral stuff, and you know, but you know, even Taylor Swift, when she first broke, she was a country singer songwriter, and that was her thing. And she established her audience. Then once she had established herself, then you branch out into other stuff. But nowadays we have acts that like send those. There are three songs, and one sounds like an R&B song, one sounds like a new wave '80s song, and one sounds like a country ballad. I go,
Mm,
what are you trying to be? I
yes.
don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think there should be a consistency in initially what you do to kind of find your fundamental basic audience. Don't you think?
I agree. And I think that that's something that I think artists may confuse with trying to be creative and trying to stand out from the crowd, where instead of being cohesive and getting a sound down first that attracts an audience, they're just trying a bunch of different things and throwing it against the wall and kind of seeing what sticks at first, which I don't agree with. And I think we've coined this term shiny artist syndrome, and it kind of encompasses a lot of different things, but I think that's one aspect to shiny artist syndrome is they are trying to do anything and everything to get noticed. So it's not necessarily cohesive in what they know they want to sound like, because they're trying to figure out what their audience wants as opposed to actually just creating the type of sound that they want that's cohesive that their audience will then come to know them for.
Again, as we're talking, things just coming up because we haven't planned this. We're just kind of winging this, just so
We
you
are.
know.
Our music tips are just free form from the mouth right now.
Years of experience, and even though I say the music industry has changed so much, from the '70s and '80s and '90s when it was a different kind of industry, but the basic fundamental tenets of what you should do as an artist, I think, are the same. And I think, and one of the things that I remembered a long time ago, never chase radio or never chase the hit or try to, because then it's a losing battle. I see so many artists now, artists, because we work through the podcast, and we see artists over years how they're growing, and we see they start off with something that's kind of cool, but then all of a sudden I see them chasing radio. Like they're trying to write the song that's current now, and it never works, because for one, if it's on the radio, it's already a year old.
Yeah.
We're hearing it now, it's a big hit. That was a year ago, usually. So you gotta just do what you do. Be true to yourself, what you like. Don't try to be what you think you're hearing on the radio. You gotta be aware of what's going on, but just do what you do. And
Well,
if it's good, it'll happen, or it won't. But that's like, be true to yourself.
but I think that also lends to what we're talking about. Like, if you don't have the cohesive sound, if you're always chasing the biggest hit on the radio, or like we've kind of seen, especially with artists that we followed over the last 6 or 7 years that you and I have been working together, is they're also chasing what other artists think that they should be doing, whether that's playing rounds in downtown Nashville or trying to just play at all these different places. They're kind of running the hamster wheel of what everyone else thinks they should be doing, as opposed to creating a cohesive strategy for themselves to kind of get heard. I think that that's something that we've seen a lot of lately, especially with people getting out and playing post COVID, even though COVID's still around, is they're just chasing this hamster wheel of what does everyone else want me to do, or what's the expectation of what I should be doing, as opposed to really figuring out what, one, their audience wants, and two, what they want out of their career.
I think also too, a lot of people are. There's another old adage, you know, don't just work hard, work smart.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, the problem with a lot of these artists that I see, they're busy. They're doing a lot. They're gigging 5 nights a week. They're co-writing. Twice a day, 4 days a week. They're running around. They're doing their socials, all this kind of nonsense. They're busy, but it's just busy work. I call that feather dusting. It's just like they just to do something, they're just dusting, but really the dust just goes up and goes back down again. Doesn't really do anything. You gotta like, so work smart. Like, just because you're working and spending a lot of time doing stuff, where's it getting you?
Mhm.
Are you finding increments that you're moving somewhere, or are you just like going lateral, just going side to side and just staying here and I'm busy. And they think they're doing something because they're, again, busy, but they're not getting anywhere. There's no
Well,
growth.
and that comes down to, I think, how are you treating your music career? Are you treating your music career like a hobby, or are you treating it like a business? And I think that there's a distinct difference that maybe artists don't necessarily realize. But if you really want a music career and you're thinking about where you want to be in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, what is that end result? And then working back from that end result, creating milestones from that, in a month, can I do this? In 6 months, can I do this? In a year, can I reach this? And those milestones help you really treat your career as a business, because they're looking at the different things that you need to do in order to get to where your 2, 3, 4, 5 year goal is, as opposed to just feather dusting, like you said, where maybe they're rinsing and repeating each week. They're playing the same rounds, they're doing the same things, they're posting the same stuff on social media, but it's not getting them anywhere. It's not growing their audience. It's not putting more money in their pocket, and it's not having them achieve the goals they need to in order to get to where they want to be in their career. So I think figuring out, are you treating your career as a hobby or a business, is a really good starting point to getting where you need to be in your career, because if you don't know where you're going, you can't get there.
Well, yeah, and doing that rinse and repeat thing that you do kind of gets artists frustrated, and that's why eventually a lot of them just quit.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe a lot of them that shouldn't have quit do, because they're frustrated because they've just been spinning their wheels for 10 years, and like they know they're talented and getting nowhere, even though this business is still crapshoot anyway, that given that. But with that said, still there are certain, like, like, have a goal. Know what success looks like to you. Like, what is success? Or know where you want to go step by step by step, and I think a lot of people just out there, I think a lot of problems with the industry today, even though it's changed so much since the industry of like the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. People are still treating it the same in their minds. I think people still think they're going to go out there and play, not everyone, but a lot, where they're going to get discovered and they're going to become a star, or they're going to go viral, and th- th- that's a few and far between. That's like the lottery, Justin Bieber, being, I think Usher's found him on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. All those things are like, or like these American Idol things. That's all like just, even look at those shows, AGT, American Got Talent, Britain Got Talent, X Factor, The Voice.
American Idol.
I don't know. These been going on for like decades. These shows now, 15 years now. A lot of them, right? Thousands of artists have been on these shows, thousands, and maybe there's three, and that's with major television promotion.
And
Maybe
even record deals at the end of it.
maybe four or five of them have made anything of themselves. So it just goes to show you, what this business, how bizarre it is. So I don't know. It's just like, I think the best advice I would have for an artist is, if you really want to do this, if it should be in your blood. That's why you do this.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're doing it just to be famous, or you want to be a star, we all want that, but that shouldn't be the main motivation, because
Mm-hmm.
you're going to get very disillusioned and disappointed really quick when that doesn't happen. So I don't know. So
Well, and I think too, when it comes back to talking about, like, if you have it in your blood, the first thing you need to do is write down the goals. They don't have to be large goals. Maybe in 2 years, you want to have put out a full album, toured different cities within the country that you've never been before to grow your audience,
regionally,
and
right?
and maybe get one of your singles on the radio, because even though radio isn't necessarily something you want to chase, it's still exposure. So if you're able to do that, those simple goals are attainable, and it's figuring out and working backwards how to start working towards them, whether that's putting yourself in the studio more, or figuring out the different bands or artists that you could potentially tour with to open up to new audiences and things like that, or even drafting emails to radio producers in cities where you know you have an audience, and advocate for yourself to get that single on the radio. Those small things add up over time, and in 2 or 3 years all of those goals can be achieved. But if you don't write them down and you don't have a plan, it's never going to happen. That's kind of how I've seen it.
I think another thing too is like, it's not one of my pet peeves with artists. Maybe, and it can go both ways, but a lot of artists are not self-aware.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know if they're good or not. They don't know what's good or not. They listen to other people, and I think try to develop self-awareness of what you're doing. And don't, and I always never liked the expression when people said, well, it's good enough for, I'm just doing a demo. No, it can't be good enough. When you're out there making a demo, you're competing with who's ever out there doing it for
Mm-hmm.
real. Like when I was making my stuff, my demos in my basement, back in the 80s, I was competing with the Cars. I was competing with you too. That's who you compete with. So right now, if you're doing it, you're competing with Billie Eilish. You're competing with Taylor Swift. You're competing with these people. So you have to be on that level to some
Mm-hmm.
degree. You can't say, well, they're no, because that's who they're going to compare you to if you're trying to actually make it. Anyway.
Well, and I think that bleeds into kind of the next topic we should be talking about, which is how are you, what?
Social media.
Social media. How are you showing up on social media? This is probably the biggest challenge and pet peeve that we've seen over the course of these 6 or 7 years that we've been working together is, how are you treating your social media accounts? For me, I know we're in this age of influencers and people who are able to get on and just talk about their day and talk about the $10 latte that they've purchased and the dog walk that they've been on. But as an artist, you need to,
good, though, I have to say,
which is, I mean, it kind of
digress, but if you're an artist and you have a cute dog, you're gonna get a lot of followers.
Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, are you showcasing your music more to your audience than your personal life? Because the thing that your audience followed you for was your music. And if you're not giving them that, they're either going to unfollow you or they're going to disengage with you. And that's one of the things that we've seen is it's not necessarily about the amount of followers that you have, but it's about the engagement that you get on your account. How many people are liking your actual post? How many people are commenting on it? How many are sending you direct messages? And then how many people are clicking the links in your profile and streaming the music that you've put out there? Those are the 4 biggest factors that we've seen work in being able to grow your audience and also being able to put money in your pocket. And if that's not the case, then you probably should reevaluate how you're showing yourself off on your social media networks. And are you showing off enough of the music where it's actually generating streams for you? Because the thing that we know is the more people that are on your profile doesn't necessarily equate to people streaming your music. And it comes down to numbers, and you're better with numbers than I am. So I'll let you take this part.
Sorry about numbers. It's just about this reality. Like, this is my problem with social media. People, like, one thing I know about people and social media, I follow people and then I'll never look at them again. One day they did something, I'll follow them. And then, so you might have like 10,000 followers, but you might have no engagement. Like, because I've seen people with like, 50,000 followers, and you look at their posts and they're getting like 60 likes, which is nothing. Mm-hmm. And then you see people with 10,000 followers who are getting like, 1,100, 2,000. So they're getting more engagement. I think it should be around 1 or 2%, right?
Yeah, 1 to 2% for engagement, probably 0.5 to 1% through click-through rates for people to be able to go through all of the different links you have in your profile.
I'll look at like Taylor Swift, who's got like, I don't know, 100 million whatever followers, and you look at her things, she only gets 7 million, to 8 million,
likes. Yeah.
So that's like 10%, 8% of her following. So again, if you have a new song out, you have 15,000 followers. I've seen this all the time. 15,000 followers, and you released a new song and you dropped it and you're promoting it on your website, on your socials, and then within 2 weeks you look at your streams on Spotify and there's like 75. What's wrong with that? If you have 10,000 followers, you should have at least a couple of thousand stream. I don't know. So if it's not computing or it's not like so you're not getting engagement. So I think people have to reassess what their social media really is doing for them, and you know,
Well, and I think too, it all comes down to what are you posting and how are you posting it? So we know that right now, the big platforms for music artists are TikTok and Instagram. You have really high followers on both, but it's what are you putting out there that's engaging your audience? So always relate back to your music because as a music artist, that's what it should be. And then two, if you really, 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 really want to post about your lattes and post about your social life, have two separate accounts. Have one for your personal and have one for your music. Because at the end of the day, you as a music artist, and we've talked about this before, it's a business and it's a brand. So, how are you coming across as your own brand? Because if you make that distinct reality clear to your fans from the beginning, they will always know every single time you post, there's going to be something music related into it and it's going to engage them more because they're going to want to know because that's why they followed you. On top of that, it's also going to attract different brands that may want to sponsor you or give you certain types of merch or things like that because they're going to know every single time that you post, it's going to be music related. And I think that's where the confusion happens because we are in the age of influencers and influencers can get away with posting different random things all the time. But you as a music artist really need to be posting about your career, which brings me to a story about a music artist we have featured on the podcast. He has about 500,000 followers on TikTok. His 500,000 followers came over the course of a year and a half. That wasn't necessarily something that happened overnight. He worked very hard to gain them. He posted 2 times a day, quality content. And over that 18 months, he gained 500,000 followers. But he posted content that was not related to his music. So his audience now knows him for a different topic as opposed to what his music is. And now he's trying to have to convert them over to being a fan of his music because of that. So that's also where being very self-aware of the music you're putting out there and how you're putting it out there on your platforms can help you gain a quality engaged audience as opposed to people who are following you for something you may not even want to be known for.
Again, like I'll bring this up, which I used to be, against years ago, doing covers. If you're,
Mhm.
an artist, but nowadays, I disagree. I see, if you want to do your coffee and your latte and you can like, weave that into your music stuff. So like, you sit home and talk about your coffee and then say, by the way, and then do a cover of there's this one girl, I don't know her name. Um, she did this amazing cover of a Stevie Nicks, Fleetwood Mac song. I forget which one.
Is it Andrea?
No, I think it's Lana something. Anyway, it has over like 10 million views, and it basically got her a record deal. So if you're talented musically, just keep on. You can intermesh with your personality. And you want to be funny, and you want to show your dog, but do that in the guise of your music. Keep that forefront. Like when you're at a gig, have your dog run through the or and show your personality. That's all great. People want to know you as well, but don't just make it about your latte or your or what you look like in a bikini. Which will get you followers and stuff, or your dog's adorable. But is that going to make them want to stream your music? Maybe not. Probably
Yeah.
not.
Is
You
that
know?
going to get the attention of the A&R people from the labels
Yeah.
or the
You got
publishing groups or things like that?
right, you got 300,000 followers because your dog looks funny jumping out of the car, but but no one's streaming your song. So I don't know.
Well, and I think that also leads us into we're in such a fast paced environment right now where everything's at our fingertips and we can go a mile a minute and you can literally probably create a song, produce it, master it, upload it within 24 hours if you really wanted to. But we've run into issues where artists have released their new single on a Friday. And then the next Friday we talk to them and we ask them how it's going. And they're like, well, I've only gotten like 20 streams. And, I don't know why people aren't finding it. Like, I don't know what's going on. And we'll ask them, when was the last time you posted about it? When was the last time you told your audience that this single is out there? Oh, well, last Friday when I dropped it. What people don't realize is we are in this industry where everything goes by quickly and the algorithms literally every 20 to 30 minutes will update people's feeds. If you posted about your single 7 days ago, I guarantee you your audience hasn't seen it. And you may think that posting it once can get you a lot of streams, but the way that it works on social media, you have to post it probably once, if not twice a day. And that's probably even the bare minimum of it. And it may feel at first that you're bombarding your audience, but your audience will see it and they'll choose to click on it at the time that they want to. You can't just assume that they've seen it because you've posted it once. You have to constantly be on them, which leads me into the next thing of you drop a single on a Friday, let it breathe for 2, 3 months. Don't drop singles constantly, because if that's the case, you're going to overwhelm yourself with the amount of time it's going to take to try to promote each and every single one of them 1 to 2 times a day on social media. Let it breathe and let people find it as you post it, which will become natural to you to talking about it. And that'll get you the streams that you want. And it could lead into other opportunities because now your audience knows exactly what to expect from you and things like this. So that's a little bit my 2 cents on slow down the pace of how much you're releasing, but amp up the amount that you're actually promoting it.
Well, take a clue from TV and Madison Avenue advertising.
Mm-hmm.
Times I've seen commercials where I'd see a Geico commercial, another commercial, then the same Geico commercial. Like they just saturate you. How many Coke commercials do you see? Sometimes you see 7 of the same commercials in one show. They just keep on promoting the same thing. So they know it's like, it just keep doing it, keep shoving it down your throat. They're not afraid to saturate it. So that's what you got to do. You can't put one post out there on a Friday and go, well,
that's it. My 100,000 streams will be coming for you.
I'll go viral.
Yeah,
it happen, man. So, don't be afraid to. You can be clever about it. If you have personality. I've seen some people do some really clever TikTok things or really clever.
Who is it? Devin Cole. She's an artist that actually went viral on TikTok. But what she did well is her new single Witch, which dropped, I believe, the end of June, she promoted that and pre-promoted that for at least a month. And every single time that she posted something, it was about that single, whether it was just talking about the process of making it or getting creative and doing different trends. But every single time the music was embedded into it. And even after it's been about a month since then, every single thing that she posted about is strictly about that single. And it got her a record label and it got her to go viral. So those things you as an artist should be looking at. How long do I need to pre-promote this to get people aware that this is coming? How long after do I need to actually be promoting this to get the streams that I want or to get the attention that I need? And don't be afraid to just stick to that one project for a while to see those results, because we are in that industry where you could drop a single every other week if you wanted to, but one, is it quality? And two, is your audience actually seeing it?
And again, they say like nowadays it's harder for artists because of social media that you have to be your own ad agency as well, or promotion team as well. But looking back, even though we didn't have social media, you look at all great bands had their own kind of branding. Bowie promoted himself, Elton John promoted himself. The Eagles, they all had their own vibe. They all created their own thing. The Eagles had the '70s country rock vibe. So like the Beatles had the suits and the blue. They all had a thing about them that was kind of like a branding thing. So even though they didn't have to go themselves and actually do the videos, but so. As an artist, you have to promote yourself since the beginning of time. Elvis did it, so.
And you can't be afraid. That's the thing. Like, you can't be afraid or ashamed that you're bombarding your audience. You should be proud of every single thing that you're posting about with your career and promoting yourself, because that also shows your audience that you know that this is a success, that you know that whether this single or this album is going to succeed. And I think that's a huge factor in how your audience perceives you and how you grow. People want to see that confidence and they want to know that you believe in yourself. And sometimes that may not come across if you're not promoting yourself.
And then a new thing it just came to mind. I'll call it a lot of artists have what I would call serious artist syndrome. Think they're too good to. No, I'm an artist. I can't be bothered with, and to some degree I get it. You're into, if you're really into the music and you want to, but if you want to have a career doing this, at some point you have to kind of sell it a little bit. Whether or not you're like, I don't care how much of an artist you are but if you want to You know, if you want to sit in your room and just be a serious artist and write your serious stuff and be serious and not partake in all the social media and all that nonsense, then just don't quit your day job. But
Hmm.
if you want to make this a career where you could like, you have to partake somewhat, and
Well, and that leads into my number one piece of advice. If the only thing you take from this and you think everything else is utter nonsense that we're talking about, do not be afraid of your direct messages on social media. That is the quickest way to make your fans feel loved and appreciated without necessarily having to take up too much time and constantly be promoting your single. Because I guarantee you, if you direct message, let's say 20 fans a day for a month, and you just say, "Hey, Donna, hey, Carl, I'm really glad that you're here. Here's a direct link to my latest single. I hope you stream it and I hope you love it. Would love to hear your feedback." You would probably get your streams quicker than if you just posted a story or a video on your social media platforms. And yes, it takes time, it takes dedication, but that's what creates better engagement and better awareness of your audience because
watch one less TV show that week, and
yeah.
like, and spend one less.
Or while you're watching the
Screen.
TV show,
Oh,
open
what are you
up
watching? Right.
it. But the direct messages are the easiest and most simple way to engage with your fans and really be able to showcase them what's coming
Again,
in your career.
and with that is like, my number one thing is don't underestimate the power of your email list of
Mm-hmm.
emails. You know,
Well, and that goes to say one of the things that I think artists may not know, your social media platforms, you do not own. The
change.
social media companies own every single account that you have, and they have the ability to take it away at any single second. If you post something they don't agree with,
Algorithms.
yeah, if you don't post something that they agree with, they can take it down and block you. If they decide that tomorrow is the last day of business, that account goes away. So, where do those fans then go to actually find you? And it's your website and it's your email list. And if those two things are not actively growing and you're not actively using, that is a big mistake because your email list allows you to get into their inbox directly as long as they give you permission to tell them exactly what's going on. And that is the biggest way to grow your audience because it's so easy for them to share and click and do things.
I think it's the best way. I think right now, I think if you're on social media, in your even Facebook, whatever, Instagram, I'd say to be collecting email addresses and
Mm-hmm.
building with MailChimp and Constant Contact, whatever. You can easily, because with the email, right, with MailChimp, for a fact, if you have 10,000 on your email list, you send that email, that will go to 10,000 inboxes, whether or not they
Mm-hmm.
open the story, but it'll get to them. Where like you could have 10,000 fans and post it, or 10,000 followers, 10,000 people might not see it.
Maybe
You know,
even 100 people will see
right?
it. It's
It's
very, it's you're at
way
the will
more,
of the social media platforms.
and the algorithm that day and whatever, all the and the stars and the Mercury in retrograde. I don't know, but it's crazy. So yeah, the email list, man.
Yeah, they're important, which leads into our last topic, which is how can you actually make money as a music artist? I mean,
I,
and I,
I'd like to know how do you.
well, I think a lot of times people think that record labels and publishing deals and things like that will eventually come. And obviously, you can make money from generating more streams or actually having people purchase your merch. But the easiest way to make money in the music industry is crowdfunding. And I think a lot of artists are scared of it because that they feel like they're begging or they're asking their fans for money and they may seem like they're poor, lowly artists. But people have been crowdfunding and doing things in the music industry way longer than the technology has been able to. And it was called busking and things like that. And,
Going on since the prehistoric days. People have been busking, and the National Endowment of the Arts.
mm-hmm,
People have been what you call it, subsidizing artists for centuries. That's what they do. Van Gogh's brother subsidized them. It goes on and on and on. So yeah, I don't know why they're afraid of. Well, and not so much even crowdfunding, which is great, but like fan funding. Like, I look at like today OnlyFans. I know it's pretty much predominantly like porn, but look what's going on in that. Where all these people are just like, there are people just quitting their jobs and making like $1 million a month, in donations and like, subscriptions. So if you're an artist, why not have your fans go directly to you, subscribe to your page for a nominal fee?
Hmm.
$5 a month, even. Again, I have this thing. Do the math. You have 10,000 followers, and you get 1,000 of them to subscribe to you $5 a month.
$5,000 in your pocket
five
right
thousand
there.
dollars a month in your pocket, and you provide them with behind the scenes stuff and outtakes.
Pre-releases to your music, digital downloads of lyric sheets, things that are simple and don't necessarily take a lot of money, but it's time on your part as an artist, and that's how you grow a business. And when it comes to
You don't have to work.
you don't
They
have to work.
they should you can quit your day job, your bar gig, your waitress gig, or whatever, and then you can just concentrate on your career.
Mm-hmm. And the way that you build your audience that way is utilizing your email lists and your crowdfunding to get them to, or your social media networks to get them to subscribe. And again, that's where using direct messages comes in and not being afraid to ask them, because what we know is it's the easiest and fastest way to either fund your next project, which is what crowdfunding is good for, or monthly subscribers to just fund your career as you have as you have new goals that you want to accomplish.
If I like an artist that I see, that I like their music, and they asked me to, could you, give me $5 a month at $60 a year, it's $60 a year. It's nothing. My you just put on your credit card, you forget about it, and you get enough people to do that right there, and then you have an income. You have
Mm-hmm.
a good income. So I don't know. I don't know why artists aren't really like utilizing this more.
Well, and I think ego comes into it. We know that artists can be a little they can be egocentric. It's not a bad thing, because you do need to have a little bit of that. But at the end of the day, if you're not making money and you're spinning your wheels trying to do things, there's a problem there. And crowdfunding is an easy way, and fan funding is an easy way to just get your fans to show up for you while you're pursuing your career, which, if you think about it from a business perspective, people who own businesses invest in their employees by giving them salaries and giving them bonuses and giving them benefits. You as a music artist, that's what your fans can do for you if you have a place for them to donate. That's secure, which leads me into, it's probably not uncommon nowadays, especially with the pandemic, where artists will say, give me a tip, or, here's my Venmo, here's my PayPal, here's whatever other aspect there is to be able, or tip jar or whatnot. Those things are not secure.
Or
Cryptocurrency, but those things are not secure. People can hack into those. People can tip you, but then, complain and take it back. Whereas crowdfunding is more secure. The platform, especially 94twenty crowdfund and 94twenty fan fund, we have a level of security where people can't just come and request refunds. They have to physically speak to us. They need to get in touch with you. You need to verify it. Things like that, where it's more secure for you to be able as an artist to get your money paid out to you than to fear that people are going to come back or someone's going to hack your account.
With us, you're dealing with people. You're not dealing with this like a computer algorithm. You're dealing with like trying to get a hold of somebody at Kickstarter.
Yeah. Or try to get a hold of someone at Venmo to tell them that your account got hacked. Like, it's not necessarily the easiest process. On top of that, since we're speaking about music careers as a business, if you ever have the chance to present yourself to a label or an organization that can be able to give you money in return for sponsorships or deals or things like that, they want to see, breakdown by breakdown, you as an artist, how much you have been able to generate up until that point. Yes, followers matter. Yes, engagement matters, but they want to see a return on their investment. Have you as an artist been able to generate a profit for yourself over how many years you've been in your career?
Ultimate telltale sign.
Yeah.
And you have 1 million followers, but if you could say, well, out of these followers, and they follow, anyone could like a post, big deal. I like it. It doesn't mean much, or a comment, a bit more engagement. But if they actually give you money, that's engaged. And you show that to labels that you're able to generate actually, like you said, actual money, for what I'm doing. That's a sign to them. Well, this is what he can do on his level. Imagine with our machine behind him, and they'll it'll help you get even a record deal. So
And
Sorry to-
that brings us back to record labels have changed since the 70s and 80s, and they're no longer willing to give you the amount of assets that they had at their disposal then. So you going forward and showing them that you can take your own career by the horns and be able to generate profit without them, they're more willing and apt to invest in you and give you a little bit more leeway than an artist that just comes to them and says, "Oh, I have 1 million followers, but I haven't really done anything yet." So,
Yeah, so
well, and I think the last thing we'll talk about is the one thing you and I both agree on that's probably a little bit archaic now, and that you shouldn't necessarily invest in your career is custom music videos. That is probably one of our biggest pet peeves of artists taking their money and investing tens of thousands of dollars in a music video that goes nowhere.
I have to admit, I'm not going to contradict myself, but I like looking at them. Sometimes when artists that want to be on our podcast send them the videos, I like seeing them, but I think they're a waste. If you're an unknown artist, to spend $5,000, $10,000, even $3,000 on these videos where there's actors and there's a plot and there's a script, come on, you're not. Nobody cares. To me, if you're gonna do a video, what I like, you can do a quality video. I like quality lyric videos where like you see them actually just playing maybe a 2-camera shoot with them actually just singing the song, even if they're lip singing it, and then the lyrics scroll. I like that. But these people who waste time on these videos, like it's pointless. It's a waste of money.
I would say if you're not at the caliber of where artists on the labels are yet, and you're not generating a steady income, take that money you would invest in a really high quality music video, put more time in a studio, put more time into producers that can really get your demos and your singles up to the level where you need to be as an artist in order, and who you're competing with based off of what genre, even though there are no genres anymore, you're looking into, and have someone help you with your social media accounts, because that's how you're going to grow. And that's my 2 cents into how you can utilize your money better.
It's a better investment. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of times with the crowdfunding, we've had artists come to us, "What are you raising the money for?" "Well, we want to do a video." I go, "Why?" MTV and CMT don't even play videos anymore.
Yeah.
Even the major outlets of videos don't even play videos. So why, if you're Taylor Swift or you're Lady Gaga and you want to do a walking in the, I've seen that when they're walking off cliffs and there's wind and it's beautiful and like it's all bombastic and like, Titanic looking, but who cares, man?
Yeah. But unless you're them, it does not pay for a return on investment to invest in those high quality music videos right now. Maybe in a couple of years, if you get to that place, that's where you need to go. But
unless it's cheap. But see, even if it's cheap with the new iPhones and you can buy these drones and you can do cheap,
you can do it for yourself for like $500.
Still, but who really cares?
And it comes back to your plan. In your plan and where you want to be in your career, is a $10,000 music video actually going to help you accomplish any of those things, or it's just going to be a big waste of money?
A video is valuable again, but it should be just a performance video, because at this point in your career, you're unknown. You just want to show people who you are. So if you have a good look, show that good look, and then show the lyrics. But I don't want to see you in a bathtub or breaking up with your boyfriend or, having a fight in a restaurant, and they're always cheesy anyway. They're never like real, like always like, you see, because the guy that always gets some friend who's not an actor and he's stupid. And I don't know. What do I know?
Well, let's wrap this thing up. So we want to thank you all for joining us. We hope that you've picked up on some of the highlights of the things that we spoke about, which are figuring out your sound and how to make it cohesive, figuring out what your goals are in your music career and strategies that can help you get there, and breaking them down into steps to start treating your music career as a business, figuring out where your audiences are and how do you utilize them on social media networks, and in terms of utilizing your direct messages, posting more often, and letting your music projects breathe instead of trying to release things consistently, growing your email list actively and making sure you're utilizing your website, figuring out how crowdfunding or fan funding can really help you move your music career forward in terms of giving you the profit and income that you need to accomplish everything, and maybe not necessarily invest in music videos.
And don't forget to set up a MySpace page.
Yes, exactly. Tom would be super happy for you to go do that.
Is it even there anymore?
No, I think it's gone. I think it's completely kaput. But But thank you all so much for joining. And if you do have an interest in either crowdfunding or fan funding your music career, go to 94twenty crowdfund.com for your
See,
crowdfunding your
across the bottom, right?
yeah, but go to 94twenty crowdfund.com for your music project goals, and go to 94twenty fanfund.com for music subscriptions so that your audiences can donate on a monthly basis. Or if you just want to talk to us, you can email us.
And go to 94twenty.com just to check out our podcast.
Exactly. And if you need to email us, it's Nicole at 94twenty.com and Carl at 94twenty.com. We hope that you've enjoyed this segment of our music tips for music artists. We'll be back later with more, but until then, we'll talk to y'all later.